Is it New Year's yet? Today we are going to talk about New Year's resolutions, checklists anyhow. Maybe not, they're not necessarily resolutions, but they're things you should be looking at to fix and build upon for the year ahead. Specifically for public adjusting businesses. Because, the BuzzFeed New Year's resolution checklist for the dumpster fire of 2020 is fun and all, but it doesn't necessarily pertain exactly to your type of business. So with that, good riddance 2020. It was nice. Not really. Let's hope that on January 1st, 2021, the universe resets itself. Okay, let's get started. So today I want to talk about three things, as I do. So I want to talk about how you can do a business audit, and that's really like a business process audit for your last 12 months, how to set attainable and realistic goals for the next 12 months. So really there we're going to talk about who deserves what and what priority, important versus critical kind of things. And the third thing is, how do you really narrow it down to the one thing that you should be focusing on right now for the beginning, for, Q1 of next year? So those are the three things that we're going to focus on today. Of course, we would always love to hear if you have any questions or comments or anything specific that you are looking for help with. Now, we did this webinar for January 1st, end of New Year's resolution sort of thing. But honestly, these are things that you should be looking at weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. But it's just a good time of year to kind of reset, especially after the year we've had. But I personally like to sit and do personal goals and things like this in the spring. Spring feels a little bit more rejuvenating for me. A lot of businesses do this starting, October, November, depending on how big you are. But there's always room for improvement. There's always time for improvement. So it doesn't matter when you do this during the year. I think as long as you get it on your schedule and you make it a habit. So the first thing I want to talk about is how would you run a business audit, a business process audit for your last 12 months. So ClaimWizard users have well over 100 reports to their disposal, and I'm often called and asked which report does what, or I'm looking for this information, what do I do, or I'm looking to build a metric around something, help me backfill it, things like that. A lot of work around reports. So what I decided to do was to kind of compile a list of things that you should be looking at and why. So it's not enough to say, hey, run this report or compare these numbers to the numbers, to the month or quarter prior to it, but to understand why these numbers matter. If you don't measure it, you can't fix it, right? You can't manage it. So that's kind of what we're going to look at. So these are going to be, of course, if you're not a ClaimWizard user, you can still gather these metrics on your own, but it won't be, easy as click as a button. So we're going to go through this and show you the things that on a general level, as a small business, for no matter the size of your public adjusting business, that you can make meaningful decisions and really kind of gauge the health of your business. And that's going to give you a jumping off point about what to fix next. So just as an aside, I am a certified advisor for Fix This Next, which is Methodologies, which is where I get a lot of these ideas from. I just choose to work specifically in the first party claims arena, specifically with public adjusting companies, law firms that work in this. So a lot of what you're seeing is sort of the how, or I should say the what, but not the why or the how, right? So I work with companies on a consultancy basis that kind of walk them through all of this in their particular circumstances with their particular numbers, that take a look at where they are now, where they have been in the past, where they want to go, and how they're going to get there. So that's really important for you to kind of dive in for yourself. This is really just going to give you a starting point about what's the state of my company right now and where are some areas that I should look to improve, on a more immediate basis and a more, maybe a little bit longer term basis. But how you actually make those improvements is up to you. Clients that work with me actually kind of get a lot of that hand holding done for them so they can get to their goals a lot faster. So what we have here is I suggest that you don't necessarily have to run every single one of these reports on the time frame that we say, but I think you should absolutely take a look at them because these are reports that are going to give you the health of your business process. A lot of businesses look at their bank account. There was this joke, but way back when I was in school, we had home ec and all that, and they kind of taught you how to balance a checkbook, which I wish they would. Now kids have like business accounting in middle school or whatever, but the joke with the teacher was if you have checks left in your checkbook, you must have money left, right? Like you're out of checks, you're out of money. You still have checks, you got money. A lot of small businesses look at their bank accounts or their immediate invoices that have not been collected, that the ones that have already been generated, and they use that as a metric of their health, their business health. And that is so far from a great metric that we're going to kind of talk about these. So we feel with ClaimWizard and looking at the health of your public adjusting company on a weekly basis, you should be taking a look at money in and out, right? So if you run the report, claims with open balances, and you'll, pause this, write it down, screen cap it, whatever you need. Claims with open balances will get, and you can run it by time period. So you can say, open balance. A lot of these reports will let you run them by time period or on a specific person, company, vendor, that sort of thing. But any claim you have with an open balance means the carrier still owes the policyholder a check. And what that means in reality is that you have successfully negotiated and agreed upon and settled an aspect of the claim. So maybe it's just dwelling and you're still out on contents. Whatever that dwelling part is in ClaimWizard, if you mark it accepted, it is going to say, okay, carrier, you've accepted this and said you're going to pay this money. Now we are expecting a check to be cut to the policyholder. Whether or not it goes to you first or the mortgage company or the policyholder first, for the sake of this report, that's a little irrelevant. We just know the carrier owes money that they said they would pay. We do have another report later on that kind of goes over like when is that money coming in, not how much, well, how much and when, as far as the cash flow goes, but that's not necessarily a weekly thing. So claims with open balances is carrier to policyholder. The next report you're going to want to keep an eye on is payments received, and those are all inbound checks. So that's kind of the during process, right? So checks were cut from the carrier and delivered to someone, right? Whether it be the mortgage company, the policyholder, or the public adjusting company, whatever your particular process is, it will get, it's delivered someplace. So that's the middle, and we have ways, obviously, in ClaimWizard you can track that. I always suggest, even if your policyholder or even the mortgage company, if they're involved, get the check, the full check, or partial payment, whatever it is that includes your fee, to record the entire check in ClaimWizard and to deduct your fee out of it, even if in reality the only physical check and money you're ever touching is your fee at the end of it. ClaimWizard, I wouldn't, call it generally, GAAP accounting. It's public adjusting accounting. We have to track the checks. You're not tracking actual money, you're tracking checks at that point. So the third report I feel you should run every week to keep a pulse on your business process is claims with undistributed amounts. And that's basically when the policyholder has gotten their money and you have gotten your fee, or maybe not even have gotten your fee. The report will show that, and that you have not either received your fee or you have not dispersed the money to your team, to your adjusters, your estimators, etc., how you need to, your own company fee within that. So as you can see, we're going from carrier to policyholder, policyholder to public adjusting company. So that is a good set of reports to watch every single week. You don't want to, in my opinion, let this go a month. Because a month is too long if you're trying to collect money. Money should move, once money is accepted and settled upon, it should move faster than month by month by month. So that's what we advise taking a look at there. The next one are biweekly reports. So this is really payroll, right? So this has to do with how are you just distributing monies within your company. So the first one is a disbursement report, and there you can pick a date range. So you might say specific dates, every other Friday, however you do the dates, monthly, month to date, total month, tons of options. And that's going to show how much money you have physically received in that time period and how much you dispersed out and what's still on the table to disperse. So the money you have in your company that you haven't paid out to your adjusters for their fees, etc. The next report is commission payments for personnel. There is a disbursement report by personnel. So if you look under disbursement report, there will be several flavors of it. But if you're looking to run, say, payroll or the equivalent of for a particular person, you can run commission payments for personnel, and it will ask you, it has a drop-down box and it asks you, who do you want to run this report on? So only your assignable users will show up there. So if they had money coming in the past 2 weeks or whenever you run your payroll, it's going to show you how much you should be paying them based on monies and fees that you've collected in the past 2 weeks or whatever time period you run it on. Now, open claims isn't necessarily a payroll type thing, but I want you to keep an eye on how old your claims are. So this particular report has a lot of information in it, but the two things that I really think you should be paying attention to biweekly is how old that claim is, how long since the date of contract, and then your estimated settlement amounts. So if you take a look at a claim and you say, this feels like $60,000 worth of damage, and you come in at, 61.5 or 59.5, like really kind of close, that's saying that your estimates are pretty spot on to your negotiating skills. But if your staff that bring in the claims, whether it be the adjusters or the sales representatives, if they bring a claim in and they're like, this is $60,000 in damage for sure, and it's like $600, if you start to see that repeatedly with those big delta amounts there, you're going to know that there needs to be some training or adjustment taken into place. And then the last one here is a WIP Detailed report. It's work in progress. So it will show you, if you mark the corresponding settlements with the date offered and date estimated to receive, a 30, 60, 90, and further out cash flow projection. You will see every single claim that you have money settled on and how long in the future you anticipate bringing it in. And with those, so if you're anticipating $10,000 in fees, but you don't really expect to get it from the carrier or from your client for 2 months, you could mark it as 60 days out. And then next month or every other week when you run this, obviously the numbers count down for you. If you need to move it, you can. But the other thing with this too is that it also gives you breakdowns for your staff that you need to pay out. So your adjusters, it'll say their percentage, estimators, any other type of assignable. So what you're getting is a gross and a net projection for cash flow going forward, if that makes sense. Okay, what's after biweekly? Monthly. So monthly is a good time and a good pace to keep your finger on the pulse of your lead generation. So here is where you would want to think about running these types of reports. Active leads for company. So every lead that's coming in for the company, like what do we have in the pipeline kind of thing, who are those people that haven't converted, that we've put into the system that have not converted over to clients yet. Now, of course, you may look at that and say, there may be insignificant coverage, insignificant damage. I don't know, maybe they're just whatever reason, they had a policy on the wrong house, whatever crazy things. Maybe some leads don't really pan out to be clients. You can mark the results of that in the system. So if you wind up, having a lead that doesn't pan out because they sold the property, just mark it as such and you can weed that out of your reports. The next report is, there are 3 in this instance: claims written by adjuster, claims written by estimator, or claims written by sales rep. So you're going to be able to see how many actual clients, converted clients, each of these statuses of people on your team are bringing in. So that, if you don't use sales reps, don't use a sales rep report. Simple as that. If you're primarily having your adjusters bring in their own business, you can do this, and then you can see the monetary value of those claims that they're bringing into your business. And then the third one is sales by referral source. We know a lot of companies pay referral fees, that sort of thing. So you can track that very easily here and see who your high worth vendor network is that's referring a lot of business to you and who's not, quite frankly. So those are really good numbers to keep an eye on monthly basis. And then a quarterly basis, this is where, you're starting to get out a little bit more towards the bird's eye view of making sure that your data is accurate and compliant going forward. You should be doing that on a day-to-day basis, but every once in a while, it's good to pull back a little and take a higher look at things. So what I want in this category is there's a report called Estimated versus Payments Issued by Carrier, and it shows you the delta. So this is kind of the counterpart to the report that says, what do you estimate the damage to be, and how close did you get that estimate with your demands and estimates and things like that with what you're actually doing. This is estimated from the carrier. So if a client comes to you and said, half my house burned down, my carrier offered me $15,000, and you get them $140,000, that's what we're talking about. You're talking about that lowball number from the carrier versus what you actually get recovered for your client. So that delta will be in there with the differences, the starting number, what you wound up with, things like that. So that's good to kind of as a marketing, we have a top 25 report for that. But estimated versus payments issued by carrier is really good to see how strong your team is and the quality of clients that you're bringing in. The second one is actually one of my favorite reports. I am the type of person that has to have every single checkbox done if it's applicable, and I don't like blank space. I don't like when things are left empty. So open claims with missing fields. You have to spell out with. I just abbreviated it from here to search for it. We'll show you major areas of claims, clients, and properties that are missing. Whether they're critical, they'll show up in red, or they're yellow, and I think there's one other color. But say, for example, you're missing a zip code on a property that was damaged. It might show up in red, or so you can go through the matrix and basically find where you need to go and backtrack information that you do not have a complete record of what's going on in that claim. So we'll point that out to you. And then action items completed. And this really, and we're going to dive into this deep. This is really showing you where your productivity, gains and losses are, and where any potential bottlenecks are in your company. This for me is a huge piece of being able to determine what you should be working on in the future. Okay, and then yearly reports. Now, something I should say is, even though we're talking about New Year's resolutions and end of year and that sort of thing, if you're not running these reports, the weeklies and bi-weeklies and all that kind of stuff, you can start now, because Jan 1 starts a new year, it starts a new week, it starts a new everything, right? So kick these all off if you want. If you need to work backwards, start at the yearly ones and work your way backwards in time from there. But these are all really good reports to give you kind of the pulse of your business and where to go. And you can even run these reports if you have multiple years of data in ClaimWizard. You can run them for back years. So you run all of 2020, all of 2019, all of 2018, that sort of thing, and then compare them and see where you've gone from there. So compliance and productivity, again, it's license and bond expiration. So in ClaimWizard with assignable users, you can track as many state licenses and their bonds that you need to. I don't know, each state, each type of license has its own requirements, has its own deadlines, has its own length, bond requirements for each state, that sort of thing. So that's going to be something that you should at least touch upon once a year to make sure you paid your bill for the bond, or the state of Florida got your renewal notice for your license and that sort of thing. Now is a good time of year to kind of do it. At the end, you're kind of wrapping up and stuff like that. But we allow you to track all that. And if a license is starting to become out, you're getting close to running up on your renewal period, we will warn you. But if you're just starting out with that, you can, get all your stuff together. I've seen people, I think it was Hurricane Michael. I had a client call me from the airplane and ask me, he needed a certain report or something like that. And I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm on a plane. And I was like, okay, you're giving a cell phone call from a plane, like maybe it was like VoIP or something. I thought that was pretty bougie. But then I was like, I looked up because I've known him for a really long time, and I was like, I don't think you have a license in Texas, because that's where he was heading. And he's like, yeah. So I went to the state site really quick and looked him up, and his license had expired like 6 months ago. So I was like, you might as well get on a plane and turn around, because you're not able to legally adjust in this state, And he was like, he got it sorted out, but you got to keep on top of your license, especially for people. I always say Florida is its own country within the U.S. when it comes to public adjusting, and Miami is its own country inside of Florida, inside of the U.S. when it comes to public adjusting. So Florida never leaves Florida. They don't even bump over to like Georgia half the time. But every other state wants to be there, or you may have licenses in multiple states. And I know after a while, it's just a logistics issue of, paperwork and getting your stuff filed on time and your fees paid, but it's still a really good idea to keep track of it. So go through once a year, check your passport while you're at it. Sometimes we'll actually be able to travel again. And then one that I really like, that I was kind of, as I was going through this, and I said, well, there's, I think, over 130 reports. I was like, I haven't even seen a lot of these. We have a report called Client Property List, and I really like it, and there's really good information on it, but basically it tells you the policyholder and the properties that they hold, right? So it has, but what it does have is columns for how many properties they have, how many past claims, like closed, settled out claims, how many current claims. So you would really, and obviously if they have 0 past and 0 current, they're not going to show up on this list. They'll be a prospect, not a client or a past client. But you can actually look at this list and say, oh, this guy has 7 properties and we have no open claims on him, and he's in an area that just got hit with some weather or something. So, but even to kind of take a look at that when catastrophic events hit is definitely one. But as an end of year touching base, hey, just wanted to know how your rebuild was going, send me pictures, sort of a soft marketing touch. It's a really good time to do that. Like, I just got an email from my real estate agent that I used 2.5 years ago to buy a house. And he was like, hey, how you doing? Like, if you're thinking about anything, let me know. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe I am. Like, not for me, but for a friend. So just kind of the top of mind things makes it really good. But that's a really good list of past clients to go through, and you can easily sort on active or no active claims on them. And then the last one here actually is canceled claims. So when you fast entry in ClaimWizard, we actually have a screen to say, if you leave it alone, it's obviously an active claim, contract date, etc. But you can enter in a canceled claim, or of course later on down the line, if for whatever weird reason you decide to release a client, they release you, whatever crazy thing happens after your contract, after the cooling off period, track it. Please, please, please track it in ClaimWizard, because it's going to show you retention. Maybe you're getting a lot of really large clients and they're canceling out because they either need an attorney, you're not capable of dealing with like large commercial. Maybe you're getting ones that are too small. The value isn't enough, or they're undercovered, or whatever the thing may be. You're going to start to see trends in that. So everything isn't necessarily sunshine and roses and rainbows in the industry, but recording and documenting your canceled claims, I feel, is very important. Plus the fact, if you've had a signed contract and you were released from that contract, that still falls under your data retention. Just because you didn't go through and actually settle the claim, or even if it was a contract and canceled the next day, your data retention requirements state by state do require that in every state I've ever seen to still keep track of that canceled contract. So it'd be something really worth taking a look at and seeing. We call them CWPs, canceled without pays, but there's other reasons to cancel a claim. So it's a good idea to take an eyeball look at that. All right, so one thing I want to talk about definitely, which I think, because I'm a productivity nerd, is a really good idea of what's going on in your company as far as a business structure and how you're working your business and that process. And it's running the action items completed report. So you're going to run that report and it's going to show you your productivity and your bottlenecks both in the same place. And you have to do a little bit of finagling. I like Google Sheets because it's simple. Excel is like, I don't know, for crazy people and chemists or something, mathematicians, there's too much stuff in there. Google Sheets, which is the version of Excel basically that they give you for free, you don't have to pay for it, works really well. But if you run action items completed and you can run it by a date range, it is going to show you your productivity and your bottlenecks. And this is going to tell you what you should focus on more of next year. So basically when you export that, and I highly recommend exporting it in what's a CSV file. And I made a little video here and I'll show you what it looks like, but you're basically going to add a column for TTC and that's time to close, right? So when did we open this action item? When was it eligible to be done? Like when was it created? And when did we complete it? Was it 5 days later? Was it 7 days later? All that sort of thing. So we're going to see that. Then how to get that date is basically you take the completed date and subtract the start date. And then there's a Google filter that I'm going to show you how to use so that you can actually start to narrow down your data sets, because there should be a lot of information in there that you can start to see your stoplight, right? So what's bad, what's red, what's yellow, what things are kind of marginal, and what things are humming along just great. So this is a GIF I made, so it's kind of pre-done. But basically here you're making that column. Let's see if we can get back to the beginning with it. So we're adding it. So here we could see it took 585 days, 532 days, things like that in here to do. Not really cool. But what we've done here was added a filter onto it. And now we can just see notify carrier, sent LOR, how long did it take, that sort of thing. So here I'm inserting a blank column and naming it time to close. I'm entering in sum, basically completed minus created, and the dates, and it figures it out. It knows how to do math. Google's nice. It does suggested autofill, and it fills it all the way down to the bottom, which is kind of cool. You know, same thing. And here I sorted Z to A, which means the oldest ones are on top. Now I selected the whole header line, turned on the filter, and then automatically you get these like little funnel things, and you can pick what data sets you want to see. So that works really well if you just want to see how long it took to do something for, sending out LORs or anything like that. You can do it for any of these fields. So even if you wanted to do file numbers and pick a file number, you're going to see every action item and how long it took you to do all those files. It works really, really well. So the next thing I want to talk about here is how to set attainable and realistic goals for the next 12 months. When we see bottlenecks or issues or critical actions that need to be taken, critical errors, that sort of thing in our business, our inclination is to stop what we're doing and then to go fix it, or to fix all the things, right? Well, oh, I see a problem. We're not converting all of our leads and we're spending too long to get documentation out, and you try to fix everything at once. A lot of times fixing one bottleneck will push and pull levers on the other bottlenecks that either increase them or help them, break the clog, so to speak. So we're really going to talk about how to whittle down to the one or two things that you should be working on. So right here, Stoplight Analogy, very, very easy. People understand this, right? So when you're going through your action items and how long it takes you to do certain things, time to close, your TTC for everything, think about which one of those action items. They are not all created equally. Like I always say on calls, when you send a client welcome letter, if it's due Monday, but you send it Tuesday morning, it's probably not the end of the world. But if you miss your deadline for a proof of loss or something like that is a big deal. But what I want you to think about is, even on a higher level, when you're doing work, things that you have office staff doing, things that you have your adjusters doing, is it their $1, $10, $100 work, right? So we have a webinar on that. So what is an adjuster's $100 work is something that isn't even on the radar for an office staff. The office staff's $100 work of, getting on the phone with the carrier and getting field adjusters and desk examiner names and all that, and sitting on hold, that's their $100 work. That's their worth, right? But to an adjuster, that's $1 work. Like, you shouldn't be spending 2 hours of their time sitting on the phone with a carrier to get somebody's name. So you have to think about that. But what I like to think about as you're going through these processes and looking at data in your company is red, right? Danger, danger kind of thing. Is what you're doing detracts from your core service? So I see people that they're really good at public adjusting. They're really, really good at estimating, and they want to go out and do appraisal work, and they want to go out and get leads for a roofing company because they can get a little bit of a kickback, and like all of these things, it detracts. Like, are you spending your time doing the thing that you can do the best and most efficiently and make the most money at and help the most amount of clients? Or are you doing things because you think others can't, or you see an opening in the field, or anything else along those lines? It's not worth spending your time on something that doesn't give you a large enough return in a short enough period of time. Of course, yellow is it supports your core services, but it is not necessarily directly your thing, right? So a heart surgeon operates on hearts, but the OR staff and the front desk receptionist and the nurse in in recovery, like, they all don't actually do the operation, but they are support staff. And then, of course, green is the directly serves the core services of your company. So what that might look like for you is, if I can click the button. So, right, adjusting and estimating are probably at the core of what you do, or appraisals. We have plenty of clients that are just, all they want to do is appraisal work, right? That sort of thing. They're like, I won't get on a roof anymore kind of thing. But if adjusting, estimating, etc., that is the core. That is what you get paid to do. That is why your company has licensed public adjusters. It's what you do. Your yellow is all of your support staff, right? And things that feed your adjusters, things that give work to your adjusters or support your adjusters. Lead generation, obviously, if you don't have leads, you don't have clients, you don't have work for your adjusters. If you don't have office staff, your adjusters and estimators are spending their time doing administrative tasks that, quite frankly, they probably don't want to do. They can't do as quickly, they can't do as accurately, and they can't do it as timely as dedicated support staff can. So there's that. And then red in these situations may be anything that gets you out of scope of what you need to do, which is sign new claims and settle new claims and collect the monies, right, for your clients and for yourself. So when you repeatedly get claims that automatically go to legal, or automatically everything is like a pre-lit thing, that may be a red flag for you, and thus a red light. So I do know that there are plenty of public adjusting companies that work in tandem with law firms that they know, the PA firms know, and they can kind of sniff out and get the documentation to see if a claim is going to have to go to a law firm sooner than later. But the idea here is to know the sooner than the later, right? You don't want to know 6 months into something and you've spent a lot of time that it's going to have to go to litigation. It's probably better that you figure that out in the first couple of weeks. It's going to save you time, and time is money. So, a long drawn out process trying to save a claim and throwing everything you have at it just to avoid, legal or pre-lit may not be the best use of your resources. So next up is who belongs with those tasks, right? So if everything's humming along just fine and it works, right? You're focusing on the core business, everything. This isn't necessarily, office versus adjuster sort of thing. But if everything is working as designed, if they're following action items as designed, if they're making informed decisions in accordance to how you want the business run by design, your team focuses on that. They don't love you, but they don't need you for this. You should not be involved in the day-to-day. Part of goal setting is making sure that the right people have the right tasks at the right time. Action items in its purest form is nothing but a bunch of small time-driven goals that specific people have to follow. Now, if something starts going a little awry with a claim, there should be some management, or at least person that is more experienced, etc., handling this, right? So if a client starts getting unruly, or they don't want to make their payments on time, or anything along those lines, it's not necessarily in the danger zone, but it's just giving your staff trouble. And by slowing themselves down to deal with this yellow light process, it's for one, it's prohibiting them from doing 4 or 5 other things for you. That's when things should bubble up to a management or an experienced type level. Even if this is all you and you have to deal with this, carve out one half of one day every single week to say, all right, Tuesday afternoons from after lunch till when work is done, I'm going to deal with all of these, slight, small headache things that need to come up. Don't intermix them with your day, because they will slow you up. And if it's red, if it's a client threatening suit, if it's, something really hairy and crazy, that's where the owner needs to get involved. You may have a status report once a week on the yellow things. The green things you probably don't even want to know about. It's working, leave it alone. Red, you need to get involved right away. So this is also a way to pick your goals and priorities to go forward in the new year. Any of those reports that we looked at, if you see that you have a lot of canceled contracts, that is a red, right? So let's see if we can go back, Lynette. I don't know if I could do that. Oh, here, we're going to go back. All right, forgive me.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, Siri doesn't want to listen to me today. All right, so let's go back here, for example. So we'll say open claims with missing fields, right? So if you have a lot of data entry that is being missed, that means your documentation is not correct. That means you're at risk for compliance, those sorts of things. That might be a yellow thing. The girls, whoever might fix it later, they might fix it manually. They just may never get around to putting it in the system. But the fact is if you get called up and audited on this and you have that much incomplete data, it's going to be a problem. But it's not a problem right now. So that's kind of a yellow, right? So open claims with missing fields, we're going to treat that as a yellow. Your management piece of you or piece of your company should be handling that. Estimated versus payments versus, issued by carrier, that's not really that's not something you can control really, because that's on the carrier. But even here, active leads for company, if this is starting to go down and you're going month by month by month, maybe this is like green 1 month and then the next month our numbers are slipping. By the 3rd month that your numbers are slipping, that's a yellow. By the 4th, have management try to correct it. If there's a 4th and a 5th month of the numbers slipping down and down and down, and you're just getting less and less leads, that's a red. That's when somebody needs to step in. So by going through these reports and identifying the criteria of what's important for you. Now, I'll work with a public adjusting company literally on the same city block, opposite corners. And one company will tell me, we just don't have enough leads. There is no business in this area. We're struggling. We're waiting for the big cats to come through. And they run very calendar or weather-based, right? So when the hurricanes come, they're doing great. When it's what I call blue skies, they have a really difficult time. So for them, leads are, it's either feast or famine. But then I will have a public adjusting company literally on the other side of the same block saying, we have so much business, we turn it all away. We've built criteria to say, oh, we can't take this business, but here's this guy on the other side of the block that might be able to take it. And we only take things over $1 million in damage or large, very large loss or commercial or whatever the deal is. So that may never be a problem for you. But if you see leads are starting to trail off, that's going to be a problem. Maybe even in those large loss, you've got a longer time to close a claim, a longer time to collect money. So you may find different metrics around those. that sort of thing. So that can be even claims written by adjuster, estimator, sales rep. Sometimes I've seen adjusters and they're like, well, yeah, I don't really need a ton of money right now because I'm running fat on the hog from, last cat season. So they kind of slack off on writing claims, but that affects your company and your bottom line as well too. So you're going to have to set up what your thresholds are for when something is working as designed, when someone should be taking a peek at it, and when you should be involved, and set those. Maybe, for example, active leads per company. And I'm not saying how many converted and all that, but maybe active leads per company. Maybe you want 40 leads a month, right? 10 a week, 2 a day, business day. And if that's your preferred, you like to do that, you can handle the work, all that stuff. So if you're 40 and you drop down to say 25, 30 or 25, that's in the yellow. You're like, well, we'll see. We can handle it for 1 or 2 months, but if it goes longer than that with no more leads, then we have a problem. And then if it hits to say 10 leads, 15 leads, even just 20, just half of that, right? That's half of your business. That's a red and someone needs to step in right away. Now that could be it, but you could also look at it the other way. Sometimes you'll get more work, hopefully, than you know what to do with. You have to run the red, yellow, green the opposite way. So coming up next year, let's hope it's not a dumpster fire, but let's hope you all get 5 times the amount of business that you have right now. Can you handle it? And when it comes at you, what can you do? What's your thresholds to say, okay, we like 40 claims, or, we like 40, we'll say claims a month. And then we're heading 50, 60 because big cats came through and we have a great reputation. Well, all right, 60, my staff is starting to, kind of get the voodoo dolls out for me kind of thing. 70, are we turning away business? Are we taking it? Are we referring it? Have a plan. But all of these matter to building your goals. So the downward swoop as well as the upward swoop works. So let me go through this. Okay, so how to determine the one thing, right? So now we've said what your thresholds are. What should you be watching? What are your goals, right? So we're going to look at your reports. You're going to mark your thresholds. What's good, not so good, dangerous, or what's good, better, best for going the other way, right? And assign your stoplight analogies to it. You can even get yellow, orange, and blue markers. It doesn't have to be stoplight, whatever you want to do. Make it work. But okay, so we're going to talk about what should you be focusing on right now. And this is a lot of the work that I do with Fix This Next, right? So what is the one thing I should be doing right now that's going to make the most impact in the shortest amount of time in my company? That's what I help you with. I'm going to show you very high level about how you can figure that out yourself. So anyone that knows me knows that I absolutely adore Mike Michalowicz's books, and he has a book called Clockwork, which I strongly recommend. I also strongly recommend a mentoring program called Run Like Clockwork, and I'll put links everywhere. It is game-changing, and the processes that they walk you through will absolutely help you transform your public adjusting business. With that, they have a concept. It is theirs. I'm just borrowing it for the sake of this conversation, called AC/DC, which is, pretty cool if you're a rock fan. So what they're really saying is there are 4 distinct aspects to every business, right? First, you have to attract potential customers or clients. Next, you have to convert them from, potentials into actual clients. So for you, it will be signed contract. The third thing is deliver. So you actually have to do the work. This is the part where you do the work. You adjust, you estimate, you produce all your paperwork, you do all the things that you're supposed to do, right? And the last thing is collect. And collect for the public insurance industry, public insurance adjuster industry. You'd never know I was in this industry for 26 years. Collect is a much bigger nut than a lot of other businesses, because you're collecting monies from carriers, and it's passing through a lot of hands and getting carved up in a lot of different ways. It isn't, here's my bill for $100, pay my bill for $100. It is very, very different than that. But when you go through your reports, you're going to see where the most of the reds are showing up, right? So if a lot of your issues are, you can get those clients in and you do a bang up job, and then all of a sudden they're balking on paying your fee, that's a collect issue. If you can get so far and a damage is worth a certain amount, and you just can't, you're having the worst time getting these carrier, adjusters to agree on a sensible amount. If you can't get them to, kind of meet you in the middle, if they're fighting you on everything, if, that kind of thing is happening, that is a collect issue as well, in my opinion. It kind of hovers between deliver and collect. And things that I've seen that I've been working with clients in the public adjusting arena is they are not providing documentation in such a way that the carrier is able to make an easy decision on that loss. If you do their work for them, we all know this, or we should know this. If you do a carrier's work for them, if you get them great estimates, if you do Matterports, if you do Eagle Eyes, if you do that sort of thing, get them a great inventory, they're going to go, yep, yeah, okay, that's good. That's good. Like, you can't deny that. Like, here's all the receipts. Here's the Matterport. Here's everything we need. Thanks for doing my job, Mr. Public Adjuster. Sure, I'll give you this money, because they want to do their job and go on to the next job. If you make things hard for them, they're going to fight you on it. So this is the one thing that we win. We put, pieces in place, and they fought it. They did not want to do the Matterport, and we did the Matterport. I said, just do it on 5 clients that you feel are going to go south with the carrier. 5 clients, every single one of them, carrier just said, here you go. Not saying it's going to work that way for you. What did they say in the financial world? Past results are not indicative of future earnings or something. I don't know. But if you're finding where your bottleneck is, you know where you need to fix it. Now, how you need to fix it is, completely up to you, or working with me kind of thing. But think about where your biggest bottleneck is for all of these. Where are the most red lights showing up? How is it affecting your business? Now, obviously, if you have a problem in a tract, it's going to affect everything on down the line. You're not going to have enough, if you sign 1 in 5 clients, 1 in 10 clients, 1 in 2 clients, if you have so much business that you get to turn away and just pick and choose, but maybe you're picking the wrong type of clients just because you either like to work with them or you like the property type, but in reality, it's not working out further on down the pipeline, you're going to see all that in the tract phase. If you're talking about convert, how long is it taking you? Are you getting the contract signed when you're there the very first time? I have a webinar on that. We work with clients on that through Fix This Next. And, there's, I dropped the contract off with the client. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't heard from him yet. No. Listen, there's ways. I think the webinar had to do with building a presentation, a sales deck. So go look that one up. And so we had that. And deliver is actually the biggest, generally what we're seeing is the biggest problem with public adjusters. They don't have their processes down right, and they don't have them tight. So, I'll look at their action items and how long they've allotted to do something and how long it actually takes them to do something. So that action item completed list is the very first thing I pick. And if it's not right and tight, then I know we have work to do. If an action item is getting done on the due date, not before, every single time, either one of 2 things happens. Either you've got your timing right, or your staff is pushing things off to the very last minute, and then you have to dive in deep and figure out why. So that's something that I definitely help with, but you can obviously do this yourself. And collect is a whole nother story. We have ways of helping you collect your fees more immediately without pushback, without, trying to renegotiate a signed legal contract at the end so they pay less of a rate. Like, if it's crazy, you've probably seen it, and I definitely have. But by figuring out the most reds, the most problematic pieces that you have, and it will fall in attract, convert, deliver, or collect, that is where you're going to make your most focus for Q1 of next year, of 2021. So, apparently I wrote this. What did Lynette know? She doesn't remember. Attract, are we getting enough leads? Convert, are we signing enough contracts? Deliver, are we delivering high value on time? And this is what I want you to think. And as a public adjusting company, if you could market yourself and have the chops to back it up, that you provide your clients high value in a timely manner, that's huge. Just think about that. Think about something else in your life that they can provide high value in a timely manner for you on. I don't even know what it would be. Meal delivery service. I don't even care what it is. The fact is that as a consumer sounds really easy and peaceful and stress-free. And that's what you should be providing for them. But unless you have the deliver aspect down of your process, which is action items, which is the standard operating procedure of your entire corporate, of your whole business, you cannot deliver high value in a timely manner. It's just all it comes down to. And then collect. Sometimes it has to do with the preceding three, right? Are you attracting the right types of people? Are you converting enough on a high enough level to keep, you well-fed sort of thing? Are you delivering high value in a timely manner? And if you're not, then people aren't going to want to pay. Even when you say deliver, are we providing high value in a timely manner? Are you getting the information to the carriers in such a way that they have wiggle room, or they can go ahead of schedule and just like sign something off and be done with it and get on with their day? Or are you pushing them up to a deadline as kind of a negotiation tactic? Because honestly, at the end of the day, they're the ones that hold the checkbook. I always say you do you, but think about maybe running a different tactic with the adjusters on the carrier side might work a little bit better for your wallet. So that's about it. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, no matter what you celebrate. What's the Seinfeld one? I never remember. Festivus for the rest of us or something. I might have to go back and watch that. My brother-in-law can quote every title and pretty much every line from every Seinfeld movie or show ever. So I'll have to practice. But thank you all very, very much. This is the last webinar series in 2020. We tried to make everything as evergreen as possible, so that no matter when you go back and look at it, it makes sense for you. So if you are catching this webinar replay and it's not a holiday, we'll just say happy holidays to the next closest holiday, and know that these still work. You don't have to wait till January 1st to try to revamp and strengthen your company. You can do it March 18th, August 12th. It doesn't matter when you do it, just so long as you do it. Please be sure and go back and watch the rest of the catalog of all of our webinar series. We make these so that you can be a stronger public adjusting business. My motto always is a rising tide raises all boats. We are here to help you, client of ClaimWizard or not. We really want this industry to be strong and robust and respected and ethical, and do good work in a timely manner and make a lot of money for you and for your clients. So going forward in 2021, we're mixing it up a little bit. We will be doing Facebook and YouTube streams, live streams, much shorter formats. We're trying to keep them to 15 minutes. And if you have any ideas, please hit us up at support@claimwizard.com. Our best ideas from the best people like you. Thanks again. Take care. Have a great day and stay safe.